What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hardworking Happy Hour. I'm Sean.
And I'm Catherine, and as always, we'll be breaking down all things trades, entrepreneurship, and turning your creativity into a passion career. Come on!
Catherine!
How you doing?
How the heck are you doing? What's going on?
Not much. As I was just looking at myself in this recording, I was realizing that when I do a frown, it's like so aggressive. I never noticed that.
Why are you frowning so much? Stop it. Stop it.
I don't know. I was just making a silly face in the camera, and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks crazy. So everyone tune into the YouTube channel so you can
See
check
Catherine
out
looking like a
silly
clown.
frowns.
Yeah, a sad clown. Wow. Great way to start off the episode. It's been another week. And,
One more week.
you know, the average human lifespan is only 4,000 weeks. We spent a lot of
wasted
them
a whole
doing
one?
this. Yep. I didn't. You know what? I had some great week and had some great inspiration for stuff that we're going to actually talk about today. So, not a waste of one of my 4,000 weeks, actually.
Wonderful.
Can't speak for you, but mine was pretty good. So, I actually went to, where did I go? I almost said New Orleans. I didn't go to New Orleans. I went to Nashville.
Where did I go?
Nashville.
Yeah, you were in Nash Vegas.
Is that what they call it?
They do. They do call it that.
Have you ever been there?
Several times, yeah.
You like it?
No.
Yeah, I would not want to go back at all.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, yeah, there's lots of live music. There is way too much live music. I walked down the one street and there was like, I mean, the bars aren't that big. They're pretty small. And every single bar has a live musician playing.
Yeah, everyone's just hoping and dreaming for their big break.
Well, there's too many. And you're walking down the street and you hear like 7 or 8 live musical acts at the same time. It's overwhelming.
That is the worst.
It's
just
terrible.
like so loud, yeah.
It was horrible. But other than that, I guess it was okay. I was barely there for 24 hours. So, but anyway, I went to well, before I get into it, do you want to, you got anything you want to?
I did want to ask, did you see like a bunch of bachelorette parties on those like pedal bikes?
I didn't see any bachelorette parties.
Really? Oh, well, I guess you were there on like a...
I don't want to make it seem like I was out looking for bachelorette parties, because I wasn't.
No, well, okay, sure, that's your business, but they're just everywhere in Nashville. They're like, but that's more of a weekend activity, and you weren't there on a weekend, so I guess that makes sense. But anyway, the new thing is like, it's like a pedal bike, everyone's pedaling.
And it's a bar. And it's a bar.
And it's a bar, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if you saw any of those, because I find those intriguing.
You know what? I don't.
You don't find them intriguing?
No. Who's steering it, first of all?
I don't know. That's why I want to know. That's why I wanted to ask you if you saw any.
No, I didn't see any.
I don't know the function. I'm not interested in participating. I'm interested in like the functionality. How are they legal? You can't walk around and drink, but you can like pedal around this crazy bike and drink? That doesn't make sense. That was more my intrigue rather than me wanting to participate.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm thinking, you know, if I'm having some drinks, I want to probably not be moving on a bicycle.
Sitting,
yeah.
Rather than pedaling.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, not necessary. Not, you know, there's some inventions that should just have not been invented, and I feel like that's one of them. But who am I to judge?
I think I'd prefer one of those, like a rickshaw, where you sit in the thing and then a person
runs with you.
Yeah. I keep seeing them. It's like a rickshaw guy, and he's got like an account, and he does these like flips and stuff while he's running you down the street. That looks cool.
That sounds insane. I would just feel bad. I'd be like,
aren't you tired, sir?
Yeah. Do you want to sit back here with me? But then no one's going to move us, so don't do that. Anyway, I didn't know that rickshaws were still a thing. But anyway, so yeah, I almost said New Orleans again. Nashville. Where is that? That's in Tennessee. I almost said Nashville, Louisiana. I was not in New Orleans. Yeah, I am. I don't know why. But Nashville.
I do love New Orleans.
And it was for a work conference, but it was very interesting because I was asked to speak at this event that is put on by a company called Venvio and this other company, the Farnsworth Group. And they work with building material manufacturers. That's their specialty. The Farnsworth Group is a research group, and Venvio is a marketing agency for manufacturers. It was a very, very intensive seminar, conference type of thing, very heavy in details, analytics, all of that kind of stuff. Since I was there for, as a speaker on a panel, it wouldn't be something I would normally go to, obviously, because we're not building material manufacturers. But it was so interesting to see like that much depth from that perspective. And it made me think of, it just made me think about a lot of things about, how similar sort of our pain points, our struggles, our uncertainties, the things that we project in our business, they're looking at a lot of the same things, but typically they have a lot more resources to prop up businesses like this one, the Farnsworth Group, who does this market research, and really just like the amount of knowledge and information that they gather, compile, forecast, all that stuff is so fascinating. So we're going to talk a little bit about what I learned there and what the applications can be, all that kind of stuff. It was just a really really cool experience. I was only there for like less than just about 24 hours. Flew in there Tuesday morning. I was running on a little bit of low energy, to be honest, when I was there. So, I mean, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning to drive to the airport, to fly to Nashville, not New Orleans, Nashville, and got there at 6:45 in the morning. And I also looked like an absolute lunatic because I hadn't had a haircut in like 2 months at least. I just looked so disheveled. So while I was on the plane, I was like, you know what? This conference doesn't start till 9. I'm going to get there at like 7. So let me see if there's any haircut places open. Went online, scheduled one. There was an opening at 8 a.m. Boom. Got my haircut. It was awesome.
You are on top of it. That is
Right?
Look at you, just
That really felt like I was doing a lot. Like I was really just making things happen. You know what I mean?
A man about his business.
A man about my business, So yeah, I got my haircut and then went to this conference. And where should we start with this? Because, I kind of told you about all the things that I learned, and we're going to weave a lot of those things in. So where do you think is the best place to start with this?
Well, you kind of talked about that it was like the manufacturer side, but maybe like give an overview of like what the point of it was.
What's the point of any of this, really? The point is to bring manufacturers in and basically put on a really informative, engaging conference for them where they can learn just a whole bunch of stuff that impacts their businesses. So it started out with kind of a State of the Union. What's that? What's so funny?
I don't know. I feel like you haven't really like nailed down
like what it was.
What it was. You're just like, like who brought like these people are from a research group.
Okay.
And they're bringing all these manufacturers here. Are they trying to get information out of these people, or are they trying to?
No,
what are they trying to teach them, and why?
Most of these people are already clients of these companies.
Okay.
So it's like
So they use the Farnsworth? Is that what
the Farnsworth Group and Venvio. Yeah.
They use their information already. Okay.
Yeah, so they already utilize their services. Like I said, Venvio is a marketing company, and the Farnsworth Group is, which I really like that name. It sounds important.
Sounds so official.
It sounds so fancy. And they bring everybody together, and they charge for this event. So, it's I don't know, they're making money off of it, I suppose. And it's just like a in-person intensive conference where they can. Why don't I go through what actually happened? Because
name some of the topics then, if you can't.
Okay, so perfect. All right, so it started out
like
with.
If you're trying to sell this conference, you're just kind of like.
I'm not trying to sell the conference. I don't even know about tickets or anything. I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything. I was just there, and I learned a lot, and I want to tell you all about it. But
right,
Catherine is being difficult for some reason that I cannot get to the bottom of. But let me just tell you what happened. It started off with kind of a State of the Union with someone from the Farnsworth Group, and they kind of gave a really great in-depth picture of where the industry is at, where it's come in the last couple of years, like coming off of COVID, tons of graphs and charts and numbers and all of that kind of stuff to show, where we're actually at. Why are you still laughing? I'm doing a really good job of explaining what happened.
Tons of graphs and numbers.
There was, and I'll get into some of those in a bit.
All right.
Do you want me to
I'm
like
going.
recount every slide that was on
No,
the
I just
thing?
feel like this. I feel like
Okay,
you
let me
would.
just jump to the next thing. You got the graphs, the numbers, the statistics, all that kind of stuff. So one of the things they had was a builder and architect panel. And it was,
Perfect.
some prominent architects and builders that, kind of drive the industry that are, really good at what they do, and represent the larger population of large scale home builders and, big time fancy architects. So they had a panel for them, and it was the premise of it was how can manufacturers better serve and reach builders and architects. So it was asking them directly, what are kind of like the pain points? What makes you pick one manufacturer over the other? What are some things that would make you switch if you had used one manufacturer to a different one? In this new technological age, what are some tools that we could provide that would be helpful to you and just make your lives easier? So it was that kind of stuff. They were getting information from their target audience. I get the panel that I was on was an influencer panel, and I mean everybody that makes content says they hate that term. I don't like that term. I did hear someone else call it a validator, which I like.
Roll my eyes.
Yeah, people could hear you rolling your eyes with that noise that you made. It was very apparent. I don't know what has gotten into you, but
I feel
pretty
like at
much
first
business as usual. So, and I
the
do, yeah.
it's such a classic influencer thing to be like, I hate it when people call me an influencer.
I just, it's not really what I am, but I mean, it's true though. It's an annoying term. It's an annoying term. We just make content about the stuff that we do.
Yeah, content creator.
Content creator, yeah. But I like the word validator. I thought that was cool.
Hmm. It's kind of corporate-y,
Yeah,
don't
it's
you
true.
think? Kind
Yeah,
of
I
doesn't
guess
mean
so.
anything. I feel like just stick with content creator. It's like you know exactly what you're getting into. Validator sounds like you're a numbers man.
Which I am definitely not. I'm definitely not. So anyway, do you get an overall picture of what this event was now? Do you
Yes.
understand better?
I already knew what it was. For our audience's sake, I feel like you needed to do a better job at explaining what this was for. But
Thank you
I
for
think you got
holding
there
me to a high
eventually.
standard. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. All right, so let's just jump in. I think everyone has a sense of what this event was, and now we can get into some of the takeaways. So we'll start with this was in the initial State of the Union kind of thing where they were I mentioned the graphs and the numbers and the charts. Remember I had talked about that.
I do, yeah.
Okay, so part of that was a big focus was on obviously sales, revenue, projections for the future, looking at it from a manufacturing perspective and very similarly from a contractor perspective, we're coming off of this COVID boom that was kind of unheard of, that was such an anomaly that it's reverting back to the norm a little bit. And I think a lot of people would agree that the sentiment of the economy, of just world politics, of everything right now is very uncertain. I don't think there's a lot of confidence in the world moving forward in the current moment. I think a lot of people are having concerns with uncertainty and just not feeling confident that things are definitely going to go up in the right direction or if they're going to go, crash and burn and explode. So a big focus was on customer sentiment and relating that to actual revenue and disposable income. So it's kind of started out by saying, if you had to say, what do you think that the customer sentiment is right now? Do you think it's high? Do you think it's low? Do you think a lot of people are uncertain about, doing home projects or making big investments? And obviously everyone said, yeah, it's everyone had a different reason for what it was. And that kind of proves the point that there's a lot of uncertainty going on and customer sentiment is at a very low point in the industry right now, all across the board when it comes to investing in a large project like a home renovation. So they had that chart up there and customer sentiment is low. Doesn't look great. It's going down. Not where you want it, right? But then they pulled up actual sales and disposable income. So basically what it came down to was that you would think, like, the logical thing, you think customer sentiment, people are uncertain, they're gonna pull back, they're not gonna spend. That has almost zero predictive effect of what people are actually gonna do. It all, you know, almost entirely comes down to what is their actual disposable income. So it's like, even you might even tell yourself that everything's so uncertain. I'm going to pull back. I'm not going to, spread myself too thin right now because I don't know what's on the horizon. As much as we think that we do that, we don't. We get and we spend as a society. And no matter what the customer sentiment is, it doesn't really matter that much. And I think a lot of people in the contracting space focus on that a lot, and it can almost become, I don't want to say a crutch, but it can be, you can kind of just chalk it up as like, people are just uncertain, and it helps you to place the blame outside of yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I think a lot of contractors are talking about that, are talking about people not ready to make big investments, or they're thinking about things a lot more than they were before. And coming off of COVID, I think that's a normal revert to the norm. And I think myself included are looking at that uncertainty factor and putting too much stock in that instead of saying, okay, well, what can I do to better inform people, to better educate them, to bring them through the process in a better way so we get to the end result, which is building a really cool project. You know what I mean? And the numbers back that up, that it actually, customer sentiment doesn't actually predict whether people are going to make an investment or not. It really comes down to how much money they have. So if customer sentiment is low and the economy tanks and inflation goes through the roof, people just have less disposable income and they will pull back then because they don't have the money. But when they do have the money and they just think that things are going to be bad, it doesn't really affect them too much as they think they do. And I would think that it does. It doesn't. We don't
So
have
then,
the power that we think we do.
yeah, yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth?
So we just need to focus the threshold for disposable income at like which income level, you know, when everything's going really good, you can lower that threshold. But then, when things are uncertain, you got to go higher,
I don't know
up that
what you're
threshold.
talking about right now with these thresholds. That made no sense to me, and I'm almost positive everyone listening will agree. We don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean?
If you have a bunch of disposable income,
Yes.
if the economy's doing bad and you're losing a bunch of money, you don't have a bunch of disposable income. But if you focus on a higher income group, then those people will have disposable income.
Yeah.
So when the economy is doing really well, you can lower that threshold because the lower tiers are going to have more disposable income. Does that make more sense?
That makes more sense, yes.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying now. You're basically saying that the middle class is going to spend on big projects because they have more disposable income, and
No,
if
I'm
you
saying low class never spends. High class always spends. Middle class is where your fluctuations are going to be. So you got to ride that wave of where in the middle class where is the drawing the line of the disposable income versus spend ratio.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with you calling anybody low class people. That's a little
You're
offensive to me.
dirtbags.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, you know
Catherine
what
out
I
here
mean?
showing her true colors.
Low income.
The low class people.
The low class. No, the I don't know, what would you say? Low income. Low income, high
Economically
income.
challenged.
That sounds ruder, I feel like.
It does. It really does. Yeah. That sounds way more offensive. I totally agree. All right, we'll move on. I know that you didn't I don't think you meant that in a negative way towards those people.
Of course I don't.
Okay, good. Good.
I'm not saying they're bad people just because they don't have a bunch of money. I think that they're probably even better people if they don't have a bunch of money. I think the people with a lot of money are probably statistically way worse than the people that don't have a lot of money. I'm just
Well,
talking
yeah, obviously.
strictly about the amount of money that they're willing to shell out, which is,
Well,
if you're
it's
a
because-
low income person, you're not going to be spending $70,000 on a deck.
I don't think
If
that
you're
it
a
has
high-income person-
anything to do with them being a good or bad person. I just think that lower class people who don't have enough money don't have the opportunity to be evil. You know what I mean? I think they would be
If they got
equally.
the money, they would be equally as evil. Oh, that's an interesting
Yeah,
theory.
you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, you're worried
Okay.
about, like, "All right, well, I really wanna get to my evil plot, but
I
I
can
need to
afford
figure
it.
out dinner for tonight, and I'm pretty hungry, so, alright, that's gonna wait till tomorrow. But then I'm gonna
Hmm.
get my act together, I'm gonna get to my evil plan." The rich people, they have all this time and money on their hands, and they're like, "Okay, time to get diabolical."
They can also afford to, like, hire a couple people to help in acceleration of the evil plan. So, yeah, I see your point.
Henchmen.
I do see your
I
point
need a
here.
couple henchmen. Jeez, I need to get some henchmen. Anyway, okay, so yeah, I just thought that was really fascinating that the thing that you would think the customer sentiment is gonna drive a whole lot of this. People are so driven by emotions, but it's not the case. It's not the case, and I think if you are looking at it like that, like, I'm not getting a lot of leads because, people are just pulling back, and some of that might be true. I think it thinking like that allows you to put the blame outside of yourself instead of thinking, "Okay, well, what can I do about it?" Because people still are spending. So, I just thought that was really fascinating, and overall, with all the projections that they were, and forecasts and all this kind of stuff based on all the data and this and that, they're still, anticipating a pretty large growth in home renovations and the home improvement space. So, and a lot of that, like you kind of alluded to, is because of that middle class, because that's where the middle class puts their money. They invest in their home predominantly. So you were right there. Were you at
Yeah.
the conference? Were you there? I didn't see you there.
Oh, I was there, yeah.
You were there. Okay.
I went on my own.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You must have been sitting at another table.
Yeah.
So the other thing about this conference, most of the shows, trade shows we go to, there's so many people there. There's, thousands and thousands of people, and it's kind of a different experience. This was maybe like 200 people or so, maybe 250. So it was a really small group, and it was like very interactive. So like whoever is on stage talking, they're asking questions to people in the audience, and it's a lot of back and forth. So it was just really cool to see everything from a little bit of a different perspective, and also see that a lot of the things, kind of overlap, and a lot of the same issues, are things that we see as contractors. Why are you
Everybody just
laughing at me again? What?
everybody everybody just needs to talk to each other.
Everyone just needs to talk to each other and just talk it out, because
All
you'll
going through the
realize.
same things.
I know, and we're not a lot different after all. My God. Anyway, are you done? Are you done with that? Are you done? Are you done with the sarcastic laughs? My God, are you?
They're not sarcastic laughs. You're just talking a lot, and then I'm thinking about something. I've moved on in my brain.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you for just giving our audience,
Uh,
not making them second guess listening to this podcast. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Really just engaging stuff here
yeah.
this week, but
No, you're doing a great job. This is hard hitting stuff.
thank you
And I'm
so
glad you
much.
went to this. I'm glad you went to this conference because I do think it provides you with a different perspective, and I think that's good and it's healthy.
Yeah, I
And now
agree.
you're bringing that to the people.
I'm bringing it to the people, and
I'm just in my own little world, so ignore me. You're doing a great job.
perfect. Okay, business as usual for Catherine. She's in her own little fantasy world, and I'm in the real world with you people that are listening still, that haven't turned it off because of Catherine's lack of concentration on what I'm saying. But anyway, what else should I get into? I know we briefed a couple things on this, this topic. What do you think the next thing I should move into?
Why
Some
don't
of the
we
cool
talk about
people?
um, what do you got? Like name dropping?
No, not name dropping. Just like some interesting people that do interesting stuff in the industry that are
Well,
like,
before we get into that, why don't we
okay,
talk about like loyalty with these brands that you were meeting with? Like,
okay,
I know you got some takeaways there with that. Like, what
yeah,
makes people pick different things and why you should and why you shouldn't. What are
yeah.
your thoughts on that?
That was a huge talking point and point of focus for the conference, because obviously, if you're a manufacturer, you want to develop loyalty to your brand. And if you are a growing brand, you want to make people not loyal to the brand that they're with now and get them to switch to you. So there was a lot of talk about that. And a lot of the data shows that COVID was a huge disruptor in that part of the industry because the only thing that mattered at that point was availability. Like, there was
Mhm.
so much of a shortage of materials that availability was the number one thing that anyone cared about, and they were willing to get it wherever they had to get it from whatever manufacturer, as long as it's a similar quality product, they were willing to do that. And that has kind of lingered throughout. I think a lot of people, you know, went outside of their comfort zone, dealing with different manufacturers or a different supplier or whatever it may be, and realized this isn't the worst. There are other
Mhm.
options out here. I can test out the waters, see what's out there, and see what best suits me. And that is kind of stayed part of the behavior of the building community these last couple years. So that's been something that kind of stays. And they talked a lot about what are the things that make someone either stay loyal to a certain manufacturer or stray and try something different. And
Mhm.
I don't like using the word loyalty because it makes it seem like, I don't know,
Like,
like,
there's an option to be, like, disloyal.
yeah, like that's like
You're loyal or
treasonous.
you're slimy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like, what makes you just stick with what you know? We'll phrase it like this: how do you keep people happy and keep them with your brand? Or, um, if they are slightly unhappy, how do you attract them to your brand if they're with somebody else? So the number one thing across the board is quality of product. That's far and away like the number one thing that people are focused on is it a quality product? So that is like a non-starter. You have to have a good product in order to develop any kind of loyalty or consideration for any type of building project with serious builders. So quality product number 1. And then it was a bunch of other reasons like availability, familiarity, all of these different things that were less of a factor but still played a role in people's decision making. So it got me thinking, what are the benefits? We stick with primarily a few brands that we're familiar with and we recommend to our clients and stuff like that. And I've kind of always been like that through since the business started. Offer fewer options to people, I think is just an easier way to go. You're familiar with the product, you're familiar with the company and all that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be a good exercise to go through and weigh the pros and cons of, you're a contractor. Should you stick with one brand for a certain segment? Should you just switch every time? Like, what are the pros and cons of that, and when should you consider kind of moving on or sticking with what works? What do you think about that? Do you think that's a good idea for us to go into that?
Too, yeah.
Okay. All right, great. So let me just start by kind of giving you my side of my take on this whole thing.
Okay.
Why I think it's important to not important, but it's good business to stick with a limited number of suppliers or manufacturers. And there's lots of products out there. There's tons of products out there. There's lots of high quality products that could be good for your business or for your clients. But I think it's important because this really is more than a lot of other industries. I think it's so relationship driven with your
Mhm.
supplier, with manufacturer reps, with all of that kind of stuff. And I think it makes your life so much easier if you do build a rapport with your supplier, your manufacturer reps, all of that kind of stuff because everything's fine when everything's fine. It's when something goes wrong, you get some bad product or something's delayed and you need answers quickly or you need, a different product, you need something swapped out. Like that's when it becomes really important to have these relationships with your suppliers and your manufacturers. And I always looked at it from that perspective that the more that you are, again, I don't want to say loyal, but the more that you use that manufacturer, the more you've developed a relationship with those reps or the company and your supplier, the more willing they're going to be to like jump at the opportunity to help you out and make sure that everything is handled in a timely manner, that it gets resolved quickly because they don't want to lose your business. You are a great customer, you buy a lot of product, you put their name out there, you're a good ambassador for their brand and their products. So they want to jump at the opportunity to help you out and make sure that whatever issue you're having gets resolved quickly and in a way that is easiest for you. They have that incentive when you are a regular customer of theirs. So I think that is one important thing. The other thing is, having even more important than having a good relationship with your manufacturer reps and the company as a whole is having a really great relationship with your supplier. So most suppliers, they are going to lean towards, one brand over another. They're going to, have a stronger stocking position in one brand over another. So, once you do develop a relationship with your supplier, they're going to be your first point of contact for any delivery, any product issue, any we forgot to order this. Can is there any way we can get this today? Like that is your first the first call for any issue, any order. They're like boots on the ground, front lines with you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And the more you can develop that relationship, the better for your company. I think that is the relationship that's super important because there's a lot of things that they can do to go out of their way to make your life easier because they know you're a great client, you're a good customer, you don't shop around every single time you quote a project for the absolute lowest price to save a couple bucks. They know that they treat you well, you treat them well, and they're gonna look out for you and they're gonna help you in any way they can. And that's been our experience with shameless plug, Supreme Deck Store. They're awesome. And there's been so many times that the most common example is I forgot to order something or I didn't order enough of a certain thing. And I'm like, all right, you guys already sent out like 5 deliveries to this project, but I need like 3 more boards. And they're like, no problem. We'll get it out there today. It'll be there. Today, an example, we're putting up a beam, ordered a 40-foot beam. Big guy, big guy. 5 1/4 by 11 7/8 LVL, 40 feet long, heavy, big, need muscle. He calls me up and he says, "Yeah, I got it on the truck. It's coming down now." And he doesn't have a delivery to rush to afterwards, so he can just use the forklift and get it up into place for you. It's like, I know you got access to get the machine right in there. He'll lift it right into place, put it on top of the post for you, and that's what they did today. And it was like, oh my god, this was amazing. Like you basically are now just like helping us build the project. And it literally took 10 minutes from the time the tractor trailer pulled up to unloading the LVL, driving it to our location on the property, lifting up into place, getting it set exactly where it needs to be, screwed away so it wasn't going to fall down. 10 minutes. 10
Yeah,
minutes it took. It was unbelievable.
really
And
above and beyond.
so above and beyond. And it wasn't something I even thought of as a possibility that, oh, yeah, that thing can lift pretty high and we can get pretty close to it. And, instead of dropping it off on the ground, just drop it off on top of these posts. So it was
Mhm.
like they went out of their way to make our lives so much easier today. And they've done that so many other times. And that's the relationship that's really important. And that's where like the loyalty pays off because they're going to look out for you. They don't want to lose your business and you don't want to go to another supplier because you're just going to be another person that just strolls in. They don't know, they don't have an existing relationship with. And if it's a hungry salesperson that really wants to gain your business, yeah, maybe they'll go out of their way to you know do these extra things, but most likely they're not going to until you start giving them a lot of orders and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what I think is really important and why it's
What about
worth. Go ahead.
what about the flip side when you do choose to maybe try somebody new? Do you feel like these building suppliers and manufacturers maybe hold a grudge at all if you do
Yeah.
decide to try somebody else?
Yeah, definitely. For
Maybe they block
sure.
you on Instagram.
Oh yeah, that's happened so weird. So weird.
Uh,
So, I mean, so
At the end of the
Supreme,
day, people are still humans and they will hold a grudge, maybe. So,
yeah.
something to
Um
consider.
it is something to consider. So we used a different supplier before we used Supreme Deck Store, and, like, they just kept hounding me, like, "Yeah, when can we, get materials for a project?" And, like, and then it was like, okay, well, the one supplier didn't have something. I knew that they were gonna have it in stock, so I was like, "Alright, yeah, can you send over this, we'll give you this order for whatever decking." That was how it kinda started, and it was like, we were having some issues with just availability and, getting the wrong stuff delivered a couple times and, like, just minor stuff, but it was like, there wasn't a whole lot of, like, going well above and beyond, so that led to the opportunity to try something else, and, eventually everyone's gonna be put in that position where it's like, you need a certain product and you're gonna be able to get it here. So like you're gonna go outside of your normal routine and try something else or another supplier. And they just from day one like went so above and beyond and it was like, okay. And they know deck building, that's all they do. So they're a very niche supplier. So they know the projects in and out. They can spot something like, hey, I noticed you ordered all of these, like all this framing material, but you don't have any hardware on here. Was that on purpose? Like, and there's been many times when they do that, and it's saved me an extra trip to Lowe's or Depot to pick up a bunch of hangers or something that I forgot to put on the order. So
Mhm.
you get that, they got their foot in the door with an order for me, and then they just went above and beyond. It was like, "Okay, this is making our lives so much easier. We're gonna, start giving them more orders," and now they're kinda the only, supplier we use, and it's been great. And that relationship is what drives that and makes our lives so much easier in a lot of aspects of our business. So, I forget exactly where we started on this conversation, but that's why I think it's important to be loyal
Yes.
because it is so relationship driven. The
Yes.
other side of that is I just prefer to give people fewer options, not in a bad way, but like these are the products I know. I know that they're high quality. I know how to use them. I know all of the ins and outs of installation and all that kind of stuff. I know it's a high quality product and here are all your options. There's still a lot of options within this one brand. Check it out. You're going to find something that you like and that's what we'll go and install. When you start to just say, all right, well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, go on down to the supplier and they got a ton of displays, look at all the decking and all the materials and pick out what you like. There's like 50 different options. They're all like
Yeah.
slight variations on the same like 5 colors, and it's like it's just overwhelming. They're like, I don't know. And then they pick something out based on a color that they really like and it's like, well, actually, like we actually have used this product before. It's not very high quality. You're probably not going to want to go with that. And then you have to lead them in another direction. So it's like just present things that are going to perform well, that you have
Mhm.
that existing relationship with, and it's going to make their lives easier because they don't want to be overwhelmed with options. They want a couple options that are all high quality and fall in all the different cues that they're looking for, and you want to provide them with a quality product that you know how to install, that you have a good relationship with. So that's why I think I've always preferred to do it that way.
Yeah.
I've just always seen the more options you give people, the more they kind of pull back and are like, I don't know. Oh my God, I'm in between these 7 different colors. And they're like all the most minor different shades of brown. It's like, if I would have just showed you just this one compared to a darker brown and a gray, and you'd be like, oh yeah, I love this one.
Yeah.
You get
And they're
people,
paying you a premium to be the expert in your field. So like
absolutely.
you as the expert have chosen the best brand of materials that you feel comfortable with and it will perform the way that you know it will and you feel, comfortable doing all these fun interesting things with it and, that's part of the service that we provide.
Yeah. So that's my little bit on brand loyalty and why you should or shouldn't. I'm not saying be afraid to try different products and stuff like that, but get to know who you're working with, get to know the product, and especially your supplier, and it's just going to make your life a whole lot easier. And people are going to be willing to go above and beyond to help you out when you need it because that happens all the time in the building industry.
Yes.
Was there anything else with the conference? I know I wanted to talk about some of the people I met because it was interesting to just people from all different types of industries within construction that I don't normally get to interact with because usually we're at, industry specific events where it's like everyone, does something related to decks and patios or,
Yeah.
whatever. Um,
Well, we're kind of running out of time, so maybe you
oh
want to save
gosh.
that for next episode?
Yeah. We'll save it
Okay.
for next episode. Everyone, stay tuned for that because we got to get into music, music.
I'm trying. There we go. It was frozen, sorry. It's thawed though.
Nice. I think it's
Thawed?
just thaw. Yeah. I
Just
don't think
regular
it's
thawed.
thaw.
Defrost. That was the word I was looking for.
Defrost.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Who wants to go first? I guess I'll go first. Why not?
Okay, sure.
All right, this is a fun one. True or false? In medieval castles, staircases were built clockwise to give the right-handed defending swordsman an advantage over attackers.
Like if you were in the castle, you'd want it to be the opposite. I'm gonna go false.
It's true.
Oh, okay.
It's true. Yeah. When's the last time you defended a castle? Because I like your train of
What?
thought.
It has been a while.
When you're defending a castle, you're usually backing up a spiral staircase. Is how you do it.
Well, I assumed that you'd be coming from upstairs because it's your castle. You'd probably be already in there. The attacker's
You're already
coming
in
from
there,
downstairs.
and they're trying to attack you, so you're
Right.
backing up the spiral staircase as you're defending it.
Yeah.
So a clockwise spiral is a right-handed defender. The arm is free to swing to the left, the wide part of the stairs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking of it backwards.
So
Ah, dang it. Okay.
Yeah. the more
All
you
right,
know.
Sean. Asbestos. Have you ever heard of it?
Trying as best as I can to remember if I remember it, and I do. Yes, I do.
Causes mesothelioma.
Yes, it does.
You may or may not have seen a commercial about it because there's
Many
1,000.
times.
Okay, so there's these. I'm gonna not give you the really
Mesothelioma. No, me so hungry.
Okay. I'm not going to use the scientific names because I have no idea how to say them. But
Okay.
white asbestos is the more commonly used in construction type of material,
Okay.
and that is made of curly fibers or serpentine fibers.
It's made out of curly fries.
Exactly. And the other kind is just straight fibers, not curly.
Okay.
So they used, well, not that they used it in any kind of capacity. They didn't know it caused cancer, but the curly fibers of the white asbestos that was commonly used in construction materials is, of the two, the less cancerous asbestos. True or false? That is true.
Yeah. Yep.
The needle-like fibers of the other ones go right in. The curly fibers keep them out of penetrating your lung walls, but it still does. Both are still extremely dangerous. But of the two kinds, the one that they used widely was less bad. So imagine if they had used the more bad one.
Yeah. What is asbestos? Do you have any background on that? I don't even know what that is. Is it kind of like I imagined it was kind of like a fiberglass almost.
Let's see.
Like, what's it made out of? Or is that just like the material? Or do they get asbestos out of the earth and then they just?
I actually always kind of thought it was fiberglass as well, so I'm not. It just says white asbestos. It just says amosite and crocodolite and crystolite.
Crystallite iced tea? Oh, that stuff was so good in like the 90s.
Yeah, it's just giving me big words that I don't understand, so I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll save that for another episode, maybe.
Yeah,
All
maybe
right. Well, I'm
asbestos breakdown.
up 1-0. Way to
Okay,
go
okay.
to me. Okay. I didn't know this one, and I found it very interesting. Have you seen on a tape measure? You've got the marks usually at every foot that have a certain, look to them. You have the 16-inch intervals.
Sure, yeah.
But what does the small diamond-shaped mark found at 19.2-inch intervals on many tape measures signify? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Is it the standard stud spacing for mobile homes, the maximum span for a 2x10 floor joist, an alternate layout for trusses that allows for 5 per 8-foot sheet of plywood, or D, the standard width of drywall in the 1950s?
I think B, the floor one?
The maximum span for a 2x10 floor joist?
Yeah.
Wrong. You are incorrect. The answer
Dang
is
it.
C, an alternate layout for trusses that allows for 5 per 8-foot sheet of plywood. Well,
Interesting.
you
That
know,
makes sense.
everyone knows 16-inch on center and 24-inch on center layouts. 19.2 inches is an engineering sweet spot. An 8-foot sheet of plywood can be covered by 5 trusses spaced 19.2 inches. It uses one less truss than 16-inch layout, but provides a lot more support than the 24-inch layout. So it is a unique compromise to save a little bit on materials without sacrificing as much strength. So, yeah, more you know. Jinx. All
Okay,
right, what do you got for
I
me?
went with a bit of a theme here. This is another asbestos question.
Okay, all
I'm trying
right.
as best as I can.
Okay, yeah, I'm picking
When
that up.
performing asbestos abatement,
Yes.
what is the minimum level of respiratory protection required by OSHA for air monitoring? Is it either A, a half mask, so just like a regular, covering your nose and your mouth, air purifying respirator with a HEPA filter, a full face mask, air purifying respirator with a HEPA, so it's covering your eyes as well, powered air purifying respirator with a HEPA filter, so that is an external, you know what I mean, like an
It's got a
external.
hose attached to it?
Yeah.
Attached?
Yep. And then the last is a supplied air respirator operated in pressure demand mode, which creates negative or positive pressure. Do you think it's A, B, or C, or D?
Say them again. I thought you gave me 5 options there.
Nope, 4. Half
Okay.
mask, full mask, powered air purifying respirator.
B. It's B.
You're going full face. Eyes need to be covered.
No. B.
B is full face.
Oh. What's number 1? What's A?
You have A, half, B, full, C, powered, and D,
A half.
supplied air.
A half.
Correct.
Yes. All
That
right,
was
but it's got to have the
surprising to
HEPA
me.
filter and all that kind of stuff.
Does have to have the HEPA filter.
Yeah,
They
because
all
it's the
have to have
lungs.
the
It's
filter.
the lungs that are in danger here, not your eyeballs.
Well, yeah, it's true.
You know,
But of course, I thought you have to wear like a
hazmat suit.
people are so sensitive about that. I would have thought you had to have some sort of like something.
Something. Yeah. All right. Well, I am really just crushing it right now.
You're doing great, and I am doing bad.
Yes, that is true. Thank you for pointing that out. All right. So, last question for you. When you are framing a house or a wall or a building or a whatever, a hut,
Okay.
what is the term for the stud that runs from the bottom plate all the way to the top plate on either side of a window or door opening, providing the main support for the header?
King stud.
Yeah, all right. That was kind of a layup, but
Yeah, I thought you were giving me a trick question.
I didn't know if you were gonna be able to pull that one out. But she's a framer. Tried and true. Been on the job for a decade. They don't
Except I
frame
didn't
them
know
like
that
they
other-
used to.
I know that other framing question, but
Well, that was
But
like
that's okay.
trusses. Back in your day, they didn't have trusses.
true.
You were cutting down the trees yourself. Anyway, all right. What do you got for me so I can really just obliterate you here with a 3-1 victory?
Okay. This is gonna come as a surprise. Another
Asbestos.
question.
Okay.
During asbestos abatement, why is negative air pressure maintained inside the containment area?
Negative air pressure. It's to reduce it going airborne in other areas. Keep it contained.
Yeah. It's so it sucks anything. If there is any sort of leak, it sucks the air in instead of making things go out. So yeah.
All right, 3-1 victory. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you
job.
so much. Pretty good job getting at least one right there.
Yeah.
Great job. All right.
Better than none.
That's it for this week. And the takeaway here, go to something that you wouldn't otherwise go to, because you might find it really interesting. You might meet some really cool people, and you might find a lot of things that you didn't think would apply to you, but they do, because we're not all that different. We all have the same struggles, Same problems. And the same hope and dreams. So, that's all I got for this time. That wasn't a joke. That was serious. Jesus. I need to have full control of any sound effects that are used. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. That was
Yeah, you
funny.
keep saying that every week, but still all me. So anyway,
That's true. All right. Well, that's it for this week. And we'll be back next week with a lot of hard hitting stuff. And till next time, this has been the Hardworking Happy Hour.
see you next week.